Check the mic, we're going live. Stories told, they rise and dive. Topics fresh with every spin. You won't guess what's coming in. Every week a new surprise. Minds awake, never lies. Conversations bold and free. Tune in now, just wait and see. This podcast is uncalled for. Catch us here, there's so much more. Laughs and tales you can't ignore. A journey that will leave you floored. In the night or in the day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the podcast. We have another primary special today. So joining me today is Sarah Preu. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That's correct. Yep.
All right, great. Sarah is running for the United States House of Representatives in the Kansas 3rd Congressional District, and she is primarying the incumbent Sharice Davids. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to come to the decision to run for Congress.
So my name's Sarah Preu. I'm a technology director right now. I've been in technology for over 20 years. My side love has always been nonprofit work. So I've always been someone who followed politics. I've volunteered in the Democratic Party, for most of the last 20 plus years. I was raised a Democrat. I'm lifelong, so I feel like this is definitely my party. And I'm actually a 4-time Sharice Davids voter, and I voted for her 4 times. So this effort for me is to because I felt responsibility in some of the things I've seen over the last 18 months. So she's voted to fund ICE. She's repeatedly voted for the Lake and Riley Act twice. And after what we've seen in terms of ICE abuses, I felt like that was just a line too far for me. Mm-hmm. And then I started looking a little deeper because I've always said, well, I think I align with her. And then I did a little more homework and I realized, the truth is she's never signed on for Medicare for All. Medicare for All is a literal life-changing policy that could be achieved. It's a very straightforward plan that we have several we can choose from with Congress people right now. But very, very much a life changer, both for my family and families all around the country. So that to me is a disqualifier too. She also takes APAC money, which was something I also wasn't aware of, 18 months ago. So she's actually the largest recipient of our Kansas representatives of the Israel lobby money. So, and again, she never signed on for a ceasefire. When we were watching the fall of Gaza and what is now widely understood to be a genocide. I'm not saying it's a genocide. I'm listening to the UN and genocide scholars around the world who have been calling it that for a while now and have done the research. So for that reason, my tax dollars and your tax dollars, I think, deserve a better use than those things. So that's why I'm running.
All right, awesome. Of course, before we get into the meat of our discussion, my personal history with Sharice, I met her just before she started running for Congress. This would be 2017. I did paid video work for the League of Women Voters of Johnson County. And that's where I first met Sharice. We both wound up on a ad hoc committee studying media reform. I would later find out that Sharice herself is a podcaster. So shameless plug for Sharice Davids' podcast, Starty Pants, which you can find on YouTube still to this day. It's about entrepreneurship and specifically entrepreneurship among minority communities and women. And then, of course, as we know, she ran for Congress in 2018 in what was a very crowded field trying to unseat Kevin Yoder. The less said about him, the better.
Would agree with that.
Yeah. Um, and as I recall, she joined that race quite late, and there were more progressive candidates in that field too. I think Brent Welder was one of them.
Yep. Brent was actually my choice. Yep. He's a labor lawyer,
Hmm.
and to this day, I think does really, really good work. So,
Yeah, and I think he's nationally known too. Now that I'm thinking about it, so
mhm.
yeah. Um, and last time I ran into Charisse was actually the opening of the Riverfront. No, not the Riverfront, Main Street extension for the streetcar back in October, and she at first didn't remember who I was. Then
He's
again, I hadn't.
laughing.
Then again, I hadn't seen her since she ran for office the first time around. So
Yeah,
understandable.
and I mean, unfortunately, this isn't. I have to lead with the differentiators with Charisse because that's just the nature of a primary.
Hmm.
But this isn't really a Charisse, opponent sort of
Hmm.
campaign. This is a framework problem within the party
Oh, I
where
agree.
we continue to sort of platform folks and Charisse, I can't say I don't know her personally. I've only met her a couple times, right? But I can tell you that I don't get the sense like personally she disagrees with these policies. I get the sense that she votes
Hmm.
according to kind of the directives or the needs of the party. And listen, if it's on behalf, if you're going to be bipartisan on behalf of working people, absolutely, right? Like education, you're going to show up for those sorts of things. But when you're going bipartisan for things like the Lake and Riley Act that are
Hmm.
widely considered to be divisive. I don't. That's the part that I think
Hmm.
a lot of us have a problem with, right? So, and I believe those are. I can't say for sure, but it feels like there's a lot of consultant fodder here
I
in
agree.
the mix, and I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I also can't act like these votes didn't happen and aren't still happening, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, even in February, yes, we wanted to reopen the government, but there was ICE funding in there. And I do think we need leadership. I think we need the ability, even
Hmm.
in Kansas District 3, I think we need a representative who's willing to say, not on my watch, not on behalf of my district.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, specifically ICE, right? Like ICE is abolish ICE. The term abolish ICE is thought to be this like hugely divisive
Hmm.
concept. There's really great research with independents. This is up to 60% of independents agree with that term. They're seeing the same stuff we are. They're living through the same things we are. They may not agree on what exactly abolish ICE means, right?
Right.
Like then we go off and define it, we diverge. But that is not inherently this uber leftist progressive idea that ICE has overstayed its welcome in its current
Hmm.
form. Right?
It sounds a lot like the Black Lives Matter. I get the idea that we're all about diversity and everything, but yeah, and I certainly absolutely don't believe in abolishing the police because that's I do believe police needs to be reformed, and I think ICE needs to be heavily reformed. All right, they're they should be focused on immigration. They should not be used as Donnie's personal army, and I feel they are.
Exactly. It
So,
should not, right. It should not be some paramilitary force that is at the discretion
mhm.
of the president and whoever he's got in his cabinet that day, right? So to me, I'm with you, but I also think I'd actually take the other tack. I would tell you that immigration is absolutely needed. Immigration reform
Mhm.
legislatively is needed. Customs enforcement, that's the piece of ICE
That's
that
the C
actually,
of
the
ice. Yeah.
C part of this is actually very worthwhile, right? And they have anti-trafficking, cyber programs, all of these things that actually do work. So that's why it's really a disservice for these programs that are embedded within ICE that actually do work to be conflated with the paramilitary
Mhm.
extrajudicial work that we've seen over the last year and a half. It would behoove us all. It would be a benefit to all of us, including the good folks who do work in the customs portion of
Mhm.
ICE, to be rolled up into DHS and properly restructured so that they can do their work in the open without this complicating factor of this force of poorly trained. And they've said this. We've had whistleblowers come out and say,
Mhm.
they're not even doing the full 40 days or whatever of training,
Yeah.
and they're being told to disregard constitutional rights. They're being told to disregard judicial warnings. Like this to me is not, when you really start to drill down into what's been happening, and again, we can see it with our own eyes. This is the thing of believe what you see with your own eyes.
Mhm.
We need somebody who's willing to go out and say these things and build consensus through the facts, right? Very recently, just some data coming out where potentially 90%, 91% of all arrested detainees for ICE were found to be without any sort of criminal history beyond
Yeah.
crossing the border.
Yeah.
That is not what regular Americans bought in for, right? That's not what
Mhm.
they expect out of their immigration enforcement. So,
Yeah. Well, of course, immigrants, and this is just statistically proven, immigrants commit way fewer crimes than native-born Americans. That's just a statistical fact. Um,
it's 100% true. And I have by the way, I have four brothers. I grew up in a house with five kids. I have four brothers, and only one of them is MAGA. But I will tell you, he told me, like, he still really believes that Joe Biden let in all of these folks illegally so that they could come vote in elections. Like, this is the level of misinformation that feeds this fear of saying abolish ICE, right?
mhm.
um, as I told him, and I will tell anybody who's listening, like, if you've ever spent 5 minutes with an undocumented person, you would know that they did not pay coyotes or slip under, cloak of night into this country looking for a better life and a
Mhm.
more secure life just to go show up and illegally vote and risk all of that
Yeah.
with an illegal vote. I mean, it's just not how that works. It's not reasonable. It's not practical, right? These folks are coming here to obey our laws and to work and build a better home and a
Mhm.
better life. So yeah, I think most Americans know and agree with that. But I also think, like you said, it's sort of triggering this triggering phrase. But if you give folks the credit to that, they will listen and hear the full message. And I do think they are, right? If you can get people past that initial knee-jerk reaction, right? The policies are actually pretty popular to reform these things.
Sure. Absolutely. You mentioned the Lake and Riley Act a couple of times already. That is something I'm personally not familiar with, even though I know the rights use that as a cudgel on progressives and everything. So could you explain to me and my listeners what exactly that is?
Yeah, so Laken Riley, I believe, was a young woman who was killed, and it was by someone who was here past their visa. They have, of course, used that as sort of, even though Laken Riley's family has
Hmm.
requested the right to stop invoking her name to punish immigrants at large, right? They have used this as sort of their emblem for what they're going for in terms of keeping folks undocumented out of the country and not figuring out if they
Mhm.
deporting first and asking later, right, for actual paperwork.
Mhm.
So that was last summer. It was it greatly expanded ICE's abilities to do what you've seen them doing in the street. So pulling over people just to ask for paperwork, targeting, people in work vans, showing up at agua fresca stands, just happened in Olathe this week, right? And
Wow.
clearing shop and asking questions later. And that's the thing, right? Like, we all agree that we want immigration reform. We don't want anybody here who's hurt somebody or has any indication that they would hurt somebody. But if you are going to an agua fresca stand where people are trying to make a living,
Mhm.
that is wildly unpopular, right? And you're spending our money to do it. That's the worst thing. Like, I like to say is like, this is not only it's a moral failure. And I think that one for me is that's non-negotiable, but you may not win people over with that argument. But what is absolutely clear, right, is that ICE is a fiscal failure over the last 18 months, right? You are arresting innocent people, throwing them into for-profit prisons.
Mhm.
It looks like a scam because it is a scam.
Yeah.
They are not staying there because they're not guilty. So they're released. They arrested a nun on their way to mass this week and had to let her go within 24 hours. She just
Mhm.
happened to be walking to mass without her paperwork. She's Haitian. Like, I mean, this is not what we understand America to be. So many of us from immigrant families, right?
Mhm.
Immigrant bloodlines. So that's the Laken Riley Act. Essentially, it gave more money and it gave the kind of the groundwork for the decision that the Supreme Court made last year about, yes, you can essentially racially profile people if you're an ICE agent. You have good indication that they might be here illegally, which would amount to at times driving while brown, right?
Mhm.
That's not controversial. That's just the facts. We know that they're pulling people over without any warrant. They have no name, they have no address, they have no probable cause. These folks are not getting due process when they show up. So, I mean, this is by all accounts, this is a mess.
Mhm.
And to say that we're going to reform that, I just don't see how that happens at this point. You can't reform this level of public distrust, right? And like I said, I think it's not fair to those programs that do work, right? And so I think we owe those folks
Mhm.
a different reality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I will never understand the obsession the right has with using deaths, particularly of young women, to address to advance political agendas that are, quite frankly, dangerous. Here in the state of Kansas, the name Kelsey Smith comes to mind.
Yeah.
I
Elsie Smith, I remember my daughter she was like one or so. She was just a baby. And I remember we had shopped at that Target many times.
Mhm.
Kelsey had been stalked by that person. Like, what that actually was more related to was the fact that she was a young woman and how dangerous it is to be a young woman in this
Mhm.
country, regardless of who's hunting you. Right. And so, yeah, I think that one stays with all of us in this district. I think of Kelsey Smith often. My
Yeah.
daughter is now 18 years old and she works at a pool, and I worry about her every time she's closing
Mhm.
late. It is a dangerous world to be a woman in. It
Yeah.
is. But yeah, they don't use that unless, you're right. And yet, on the same token, you can't even get them to talk about gun control in
Mhm.
relationship to school shootings. Like, then that's just a
Yeah.
bridge too far that we would use, that we would politicize death, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's highly hypocritical. It's highly inconsistent,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah, it's
shame
dangerous.
on
Shame on anybody.
Missy Smith for attacking me for pointing that out. That's why I ran for the Kansas Senate in the first place 10 years ago now to try to oust Greg Smith, her father, who, by the way, is now the reason we can carry guns anywhere in Kansas without a permit and concealed. Tell me that's not a disaster waiting to happen. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we've shown in America unequivocally that more guns doesn't equal more safety.
Hmm.
I mean, it's we have more guns than ever in America, and gun deaths are not down.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, that whole Kelsey Smith, there was something great that did come out of that though, in terms of you're talking about legislation and governance at least, right?
Hmm.
I will say the Kelsey Smith Act was very instrumental to other folks getting justice quickly and getting their loved ones
Hmm.
records accessed quick enough to save them. So I do think that is that was a win there. But
Yeah.
I agree that I don't think we often talk about Kelsey Smith and just the reality of being a young woman or any woman, honestly. Like elderly women have we've got, history of like Prairie Village had something happen. Gosh, I don't know. You remember that probably 10, 15 years ago where an elderly woman was beaten and assaulted in her home. Like these things happen as to women. Like,
Hmm.
it happens because violence against women is an epidemic. So,
I think I'll agree there. So, so yeah, yeah, 2016. Do want that's also a demonstration of. Uh, I think you've experienced this recently too, but the rightward shift of the establishment of the Democratic Party, certainly on the county level, because they primaried me that year.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't
prim.
want you running.
Well, I was already on the ballots, but that didn't stop them from primarying me with someone who is way too corporate for my taste and was also quite young at the time. So they're sending me a punk ass kid against a 30-something-year-old man. Who, yeah, and that's the crux of my anger with the party right now is that they would do that and then blame me for um, because of the attacks as this particular individual used against me, uh, sending volunteers to my house, despite the fact that when you run for office, your address is public record, and people can just look up. Yeah, we probably should avoid that house. Yeah, but also, yeah, remember we had caucuses in 16 as
That's right.
well.
Yeah.
Uh, what's I'm in the 21st Senate district. Um, just a so what Senate district do you live in?
Gosh, I don't remember at this point
Well,
because
who's your
we just moved here like a couple of years ago. I don't even think we'd been here in time for
okay?
me to vote. I don't
Okay.
remember.
So
So
Dinah Sykes is my current senator, if that helps.
Ethan's mine, so I don't actually know
Okay, so
what.
you're
Yeah.
in. Okay, so so this just is that Ethan Corson running for
Mhm.
governor. So yeah, yeah, this probably wouldn't affect you because that I forget who was running in that district. Um, but at my caucus that year, my opponents had a volunteer who was allegedly telling voters, sign the petition to get him on the ballot, or you won't be allowed to vote.
What does that mean? Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, that's illegal. That's illegal. You can't suppress people's right to vote just because they don't support putting your candidate on the ballot. By the way, that's volunteer was Brandon Woodard.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Yeah, so that explains my beef with that guy too. Um, because not only did he run in 18 for that House seat against another progressive, Matthew Kalkara, it happened in 2020. Guy living right behind me, named Randon Smith, ran and was also primaried from the center swing. And yeah, it's just difficult for progressives to run in this county and not get targeted by the corporatists uh, establishments. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
and that's why I will say that's pretty common knowledge, right? And that fact that you just stated there. And so you get a lot of people kind of who are in the party who complain that I don't know what I'm doing. She's doing this just to be a spoiler or whatever. No, I have
Hmm.
been watching JoCo Democrats now for over 15 years and
Okay.
how they operate, right? I know exactly what I'm doing. There's a
Yeah.
reason I ran this campaign this way.
Hmm.
I didn't start,
Still there?
you
Yeah.
dog catcher or you know what I'm saying? Like like she hasn't paid her dues. You guys don't let progressives pay our dues. So that's the problem, right?
Hmm.
So I may as well shoot high because then at least I'm moving the needle and letting other progressives, I'm getting enough views on progressives in this county that I let these other folks know that we do have critical mass.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lot of people don't call themselves progressives. I didn't actually for a long, long time. I didn't think of myself as a progressive.
Hmm.
But then, like I said, when I started looking at the actual policies, I'm assuming that my rep goes to Congress and represents.
Hmm.
I really,
All right. Um,
that's a quite different way of approaching. So,
yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's cutting in and out a little bit. So, um,
oh,
yeah.
this is usually my best spot. This is
All
fairway,
right.
so the
All right.
trees can get a little.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But yeah, 15 years. So you probably are familiar with Amy Bell trying to unseat Barbara Bollier when Bollier was still a Republican. And
Yes,
and
yes.
I've had Amy on a couple times, and that she relayed that story to me the first time she was on. That's when she was running against Bullier, the Democratic Party was say, no, no, we like her, so don't run against her. And um, last I checked, Barbara
Result.
didn't switch parties until 2018. So,
That's right. That's right. I have seen, and I think this is nationally too, right? You're seeing it right now with
mhm,
the National Party freaking out about Democratic Socialists, right,
yeah,
within the party. They are fighting that harder than they fight Republican GOP abuses of power. I mean,
hmm,
it should be eye opening to every Democrat to see these centrists, these militant, quote unquote centrists, right?
hmm,
I consider, and by the way, in a world where you have a party run by a literal felon, right? And the
hmm,
Supreme Court this week essentially agreed that the man is the sexual abuser, allowing
hmm. Pay
his
up.
lawsuit to stand, right? In a world like that, being bipartisan still puts you on the wrong side of history.
Hmm.
So you're still you're still engaging with folks who are not acting in good faith. And that's what I'm saying. Like you need to really know and really be able to trust that your party is an opposition party. And if it's gonna have, these kind of fits over factions within the party that are calling it to higher standards, then
Yeah,
yeah, I think a lot of Democrats are having a moment right now of looking around and saying, wow, what happened to my party?
yeah.
I thought we all agreed, you know,
Yeah.
I thought we all agreed on these policies.
I mean, yeah, I mean, right, this cycle alone, it's not just, well, what you're going through, but I've had two other Senate candidates. We got 11 people run for the Senate, and I've had two of them on already. They're experiencing the same thing because they hold progressive views. They're being shut out, and um, oh, I'm sorry. Some of us aren't good fundraisers, and we um, got to take that into account. Just because we're bad at fundraising doesn't mean our message is any less valid. You know.
Well, let me talk a little bit about that fundraising thing, though, right?
Hmm.
That fundraising floor was not given to us prior to that decision. If there
Hmm.
was a floor, we were not informed of what that number was. Was it number of donors? Was it I mean, I couldn't even to now tell you that there was any official number. I've heard several versions of it. So that's not really acting in good faith, right? Like
Nope.
what you hear from the party is, well, they signed in the media inclusion policy. Well, the media inclusion policy was written very broadly for anybody who ever has to like evaluate contracts as a part of their work. Like I read that thing immediately and I was like making a checklist in my head of all the ways in which they really didn't want a candidate included in their media, they would have an out, right? There were probably 4 or 5 different outs that were baked into that contract. They were very obvious and clear, right? So I have to say I wasn't totally shocked, right, that we got that. I'm not, but it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean I'm not going to put up a stink about it, right? Because I still consider it to be inherently disingenuous for the People's Party to essentially come in and say, we're going to curate a list and it's going to be based on how much money this person pulled in or how much money we think they can pull in.
Mm-hmm.
And let me talk even a little bit more about on a too much tangent, but let's talk a little bit about that money that they're talking. Am I cutting out?
Yeah, a little bit.
You're freezing up. So.
Yeah, so it's happening on both ends. So
okay. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. So Jen, just to talk about campaign finance just a little bit, though, right? So they told me to win this race, I need $1.5 million. And that is from the JoCo Dem leadership, my meeting with them very, very early on, March, April, maybe. And when I heard that number, I'm not saying that number's wrong. I mean, clearly they should know more than I know, right? But when I quizzed them, and really whenever anybody gave me a number like that early on, I quizzed them on break it down for me because I'm a project manager type person. That's kind of, one of the many hats I wear in my technology directorship, right? Tell me line item by line item. Break it down month to month for me, right? They could not tell me how to spend that money. They topped out at about $40K a month. Okay. And if you're talking $40K over the span of three months ish, right? That doesn't come anywhere near $1.5 million.
Nope.
$1.5 million is something somebody pulled out of the air to tell me that's what you need to have in your bank account to look like a big deal, Sarah, right? That is not, I would venture to say we still do have votes that are free. They don't cost money just yet. And so the fact that you go, if you're another candidate and you can get $300,000 from a PAC in 24 hours, and you're another candidate who's been working for 6 months and you've maybe gotten together 20,000, right? Does that mean that the person who spent 24 hours has more voters than the person who's been working for 6 months? I don't think so. And I think it would be really hard to make that argument to regular voters, right? And I think that's why they're mad. And they're rightfully mad, right? While it might be reasonable that the party only has X amount of resources and whatever, right? That's true. It doesn't cost extra money to print someone's name on the voter guide, right? They don't charge you by the letter, right? And when you say that, it makes folks not trust you as leadership. So yeah, there's many reasons and many ways in which this was fumbled. I will tell you personally, I felt like it was a gift to me because I'm out here saying you're elitist and you're out here saying that you're taking corporate money and you're bought by corporate money. And what did you just show up and do? You showed up and said, what matters is money. That's what matters, If it really took that much money, tell me how the current incumbent has, $3, $4, $5 million in their war chest at any given time, right? They're sitting on it cycle to cycle. It doesn't take that much money.
Yeah. So, money at politics. Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
And I don't take APAC money. I don't take corporate PACs. I don't take dark money, and it's going to stay that way. And
Good.
I am going to make the establishment have to work, and I'm going to do it on the cheap.
All right. Now, one last question before I have to wrap this up because we're running out of time. Should you uh, succeed in the primary, is there a Republican running for this seat that you know of? Or because I've been out of the loop about all
Yeah, there are
this.
two. There
Okay.
are two primary. Yeah, there are two primary contenders. We had a third, but I believe he pulled from the race. So
Mhm.
there's one guy out of Mission. There's another fella I think is a little more on the MAGA side of things,
Mhm.
and he got in a little later. The first guy, his campaign fund was initially incorporated in another state. It was weird. So, and he's in an apartment in Mission. So I don't know what his story is. We'll find out, I suppose, but I do think they are not necessarily strong candidates over
All right.
there. And I don't think that we've seen a whole lot of strong candidates. Yeah.
Yeah, not since Yoder. I agree. All right. So, all right. Where can folks find you to learn more about your campaign?
All right. I would love for you to join the Preu crew. We are volunteers pretty deep right now in door knocking and phone banking. And you can find out more information at sarahpreu2026.com. Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, Preu, P-R-E-U, 2026.com.
All right, and I'll put that in the show notes. So, thank you, Sarah, for coming on, and best of luck with your campaign. This podcast is Uncalled For, is hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky. Our opening music is the This Podcast is Uncalled For theme, which was created at suno.com, suno.com. Our outro music for this special edition is America the Beautiful by Pipe Choir. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 International License, and you can find this music at freemusicarchive.org. And one last disclaimer, I was not paid to do this episode. The candidate came to me and asked for this time, and I gladly granted it.
Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.